G'day everyone, Jason Nunn with an early Friday fishing report brought to you by Fisherman's Warehouse Marine at Warners Bay, and of course still 20 odd knots of south to southwest winds along the coast at the moment, and really that swell just trying to sort itself out. It's not going to abate, guys, until probably Sunday, looking at what I'm seeing. Tomorrow, Friday, it'll start to sort of drop away, and it's just going to slowly drop away, and the influence of that wind will start to then move around. By Saturday, it'll be a bit of southeast, and Sunday in particular into Monday look pretty damn good, and that swell will sort of abate off. Down here at Warners Bay at the moment, and I'm surprised when you come around through Swansea, back up the channel, and even through Belmont Bay, just how quickly the water has basically settled and the lake has cleared up. There was a lot of fresh. Obviously we didn't get as much as the big fresh that happened down on certainly Sydney, Hawkesbury River of course, and down on the south coast, but we definitely got enough rain to put a lot of colour in the water. Definitely a flush out of Newcastle Harbour as well. It's going to be difficult out wide this weekend, guys. I think it's just got to all sort of like settle itself down and get itself sorted out more than anything else. But I just believe after that big swell and after that wind, the offshore fishing, particularly possibly late Saturday afternoon, but definitely Sunday, Monday, will probably go next level. I think that big swell that we've had and that big flush really will put a lot of snapper on the inshore. And these snapper will be right along the coast, up through Port Stephens, Broughton, Seals, the whole bit, but there'll be some really good snapper on these inshore reefs. There's been a few trag, of course, that we've spoken about, and some very, very good trag. Spoke to young Logan Jeffries this week. He's been getting some crackers down south towards Catherine Hill Bay. So some big trag down there and some nice reds, but I just think this weekend is absolutely perfect for some of those bigger reds coastally. Been a few Mulloway around as well, and of course bonito. But it's all going to have to sort of settle down, and these things will certainly change. With this fresh that's actually happened in our lake system here, a big push of flathead and a lot of fish move through, and a lot more fish will be on the backs of the reefs and certainly in the beaches. But we've started to see the mullet start to run around, and in fact even on Monday, surprisingly enough, a patch of mullet moved back into the channel, and we're actually moving up into the lake. And so this is what we're going to see. We're going to see this exchange of fish. A lot of fish getting flushed now out of the Hawkesbury River, and a lot of fish now getting flushed out of Newcastle Harbour, and a great opportunity presents itself within Newcastle Harbour. That fresh, all those mullet getting pushed down, they'll start to be a little bit, they'll group up a lot, but they'll be scattered throughout, and definitely areas, the normal haunts, Nobby's Breakwater, and of course Stockton Breakwater, a little bit further up towards the bridge. Ideal conditions now for mulloway. There'll be a lot of mulloway feeding on that big flush, and a lot of those mullet that are getting flushed out, and no doubt back along Stockton Beach. So this fresh will benefit those guys in the know that fish and use lures in particular in that Newcastle Harbour area. It's not to say that you could, you wouldn't be able to go down to basically Blacksmith's Breakwater and do the same. Just the Newcastle Harbour on that big flush is just going to present itself. But we'll see a lot more mulloway coastally, and we're going to start to see a lot more mulloway off the rocks and definitely off the beaches. I spoke to Justin Worley this week. He lost a very good Jew down towards Redhead off the rocks, and this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot more fish now move onto the beaches and the rocks to coincide with the mullet run. And as I say, conditions are settling down now, so you're going to start to see a lot more mullet move in and out. The commercial guys are definitely on Stockton, and they're definitely up at Blacksmiths at the moment, and no doubt of course Port Stephens up towards Tea Gardens area. So everything's now starting to get into that autumn blend. Be a lot of bream now as well, in areas such as Salts Bay. Ideal, probably even this afternoon and definitely tomorrow being Friday, into that there to just hide back up in there on those tides and really fish with oily based bait. So mullet strips, because the mullet are running, mullet gut of course, pilchards, but all of those, even bonito if you've been lucky enough to put a few bonito in the fridge, but a lot more oily based stuff. And there will be quite a few flathead there as they start to then push their way out of the estuary and then swing around onto the beaches. You've got some mixed tides this weekend, guys. The high tide's at midday on Saturday and the low tide's 6 o'clock in the morning. But as we seen last night, that 2 metre tide last night, a lot of water in the channel that was actually on the banks and certainly flooding a lot of the stormwater drains in and around the low-lying areas in through Swansea, and no doubt Carrington the same. That tide will just start to sort of wane off, but the morning tides now are going to start to sort of get a little bit lowest, because as I say, high tide at midday, 1.33, so it's not an overly big high tide. And of course that early tide there in the morning, it's only around about a 0.53 low tide, so not a great tidal exchange. But we're just going to go through that equinox period where all of a sudden now our bigger tides, our bigger high tides will be the afternoon into the evening, while the high tides of the morning will be quite small. They'll be only those 1.4s, 1.5s, 1.6s if we're lucky. So it's done that whole flip around. Of course, last night, the first little edge of the moon in the western sky, and it was beautiful, and that's going to start to build now as we get into that first quarter, and around about, I think it's the 20th, I'm pretty sure, we're going to start to see that full moon come through. So we've now got that big build up of moon, which again will culminate with the flush and definitely with these mulloway. Been some nice reports in the lake, some very nice brim, been a few mulloway as well, and surprisingly enough still a few squid. But remember, with these flushes and the amount of water that we had in the lake, guys, the lake is a catchment. So the fresh water will be on the top, and it'll be spilling off down through the channel on that run out tide. So there's plenty of salt water in there, so that a lot of these fish don't get as displaced as they do, say, Hawkesbury River, Hunter River, and no doubt there's a good fresh coming down out of Port Stephens as well. A lot of blue swimmer crabs around and some really good quality ones. I spoke to a good mate, Shane Banks, this week, got some beauties. I know Bobby Mowbray's the same, he's been getting some crackers, so some big crabs. But these crabs now with this fresh, they'll start to move out of that shallow water back into the deep, and that is the tip. And there's some big blueies. Some of these blue swimmer crabs are probably some of the best I've seen in years. All in all, guys, you just got to get out there and have a bit of fill. I know we've been a bit marred by bad weather last weekend, and it certainly continued on. But late Saturday and Sunday into Monday look perfect. The next little change we're going to see is next Wednesday, and then we'll get another southerly. And this is what we'll see, this exchange of events. Out wide, just to sort of recap on there, at the moment we've got that big downwelling, that big red eye when you have a look at the sea surface charts. And I reckon that's going to take a few weeks to sort itself out over a few, they're talking to a few of the guys in the know. Things are a bit light on out there, so we've just got to wait for the next cycle to come through. But all in all, have a great weekend to come. Obviously tomorrow's still Friday. If you can get out there on a roster day, do so. The lake's where it's at, and there's some big tailor, and I've just got some latest intel there. Young Kyle and his dad Sean Ingham, I'm pretty sure it is, they fished last Sunday in the lake. They brought home 4 tailor. This is an example of what the quality of the fish can be out there in the Lake Macquarie. 68 centimetre tailor, and let some go. I only kept 4 quality fish, and when you start to talk about tailor at 68 centimetres, you're looking at fish around close to 3 kilo. But this is the sort of the fish that we're going to see, and I reckon we'll see a lot of these fish now on our beaches, particularly Blacksmiths, Belmont stretch. But I know for sure that there are already good numbers of tailor on Stockton. All in all, have a safe time. Be careful of the swell. Don't do any rock fishing if you don't need to, and we'll talk next Friday.